Good evening. How's everybody doing? Thank you. I was asking them. Welcome to the 2025 Crossroads North Spring Band Concert. Tonight you got the honor and privilege of seeing our concert band who is sitting here ready to go, our symphonic band and our wind symphony. Our three bands will be conducted tonight by Mr. George Heffentrager and Miss Sandy Olson. They have been getting them ready, as you know, the early morning rehearsals and lessons and where they can get some extra time in. And they are ready to go as we perform their pieces tonight and then prepare for the Hershey adjudications next week and then the trip the following next Friday. So, I'll get out of the way because you don't need me here anymore. Sit back, relax. Don't sit back if you're up there. Sit up straight so people don't lean on people. But please enjoy the fruits of all these kids' labor and hard work and enthusiasm. But our Crossroads North Concert Band.
Thank you very much. Our first chart for you was called Eagle Summit March, taken out of your child's method book. The second song we're playing a little bit different, a tone poem. We had the privilege and honor, all three bands got to meet this year. We talked about it at the winter concert. We had the privilege and honor of working with Miss Carol Britton Chambers. She's a very popular band composer, very popular in the Texas and the Midwest area. And she came to Crossroads and worked with each level of band. This piece we did not work with her. But this is one of two pieces that the concert band will be playing called, what is it called again? Softly Speaks Tonight. Okay, a little tone poem, a little bit more laid back, and we hope you enjoy.
Good evening. My name is Sandy Olson, and I'm the other director, along with George Heffentreger, that conduct these three bands. We're very happy to have you here tonight to share our spring concert. The next piece we're going to play, we actually did work with Carol Britton Chambers on, and it's called Jubilant Spirit. Our final piece today takes us on a dark adventure. Kind of scary, mysterious. It's going to a place that you've never gone to before, and maybe you're afraid in the beginning, and then you realize that it's also just another exciting place, but a little mysterious. Enjoy.
Good evening again, sorry for the delay. Again, my name is George Heffentrager. This is our symphonic band that's in front of you. We have 4 pieces prepared for you this evening. Dedication Fanfare is the first one you'll hear, also by Carol Britton Chambers, which again, apparently you haven't realized that we're big fans of Carol Britton Chambers. And hope you enjoy. Thank you very much. Our next piece is entitled Nebula by Randall Standridge. It is exactly what the title entails, traveling through a nebula in space, seeing different constellations and stars, and you'll hear a lot of twinkling sounds and big dramatic moments, and if you close your eyes, you'll picture yourself just traveling through, you know, like a cool ins and outs of space. It's kind of out there, it's kind of fun. But this is not by Carol Britton Chambers, and I hope you enjoy it. Okay, our third piece for you is entitled Endurance by Chris Bernatas. It's a piece about perseverance and developing. You'll hear a very aggressive, angry theme the first 8 measures, kind of like seeing if the hero or the whoever's being the antagonist or whatever that person is working towards, like something is happening and I have to figure out a problem. As the piece goes on, that melody will come back towards the end in a more positive, more successful way. See if you can catch it. It's a pretty cool piece. The kids love it. This is called Endurance. All right, so that was pretty tense, and now something a little bit lighter. This is a Stevie Wonder original arranged by Rick Stitzel entitled Living for the City. This will be our last part of the program, so thank you very much to all the families that came out to support tonight. There's one more group still to go, but I just want to say personally, just for me, thank you all so much for all you do for your kids, supporting this program, especially the before-school music program, which I know we all love very much. But it's the only way that we can get access to your kids the way that we do, and allow us to be musicians and share our musicianship with them. So thank you very much to all of you. Thank you. Speaking of thanks, I just have to have a personal moment for myself. In the audience tonight is my high school band director's here. He just retired from 40 years of teaching in public school. His name is Mr. Paul Anuko, and he's sitting right there, and he really hates attention. Just right now, thank you, Mr. Rico, for taking the chance on a middle school band kid and up at the big old high school, making them realize that this is what I love to do, giving me that example of leadership and just a person that teaches kids not to be just good musicians, but to be good people and just find my real love, my passion, and my calling. So I can't thank you enough, sir, for all that you gave to me in high school. So thank you, Mr. Rico.
high energy opener was called Scramble by Todd Stalter. We're going to switch gears now and take you to Candide, an operetta based on a satire. And we're going to play it. It's lyrical and it's beautiful. It's called Make Our Garden Grow. I know we're in a gym, but this piece is best started from absolute silence. Thank you for helping us with that piece. Now we're going to take you to our dramatic piece of the night. It's called Up from Earth Center by Rob Romaine. He's one of our favorite composers, and we've arranged for him to come to the school and work with our students next year, all three of our bands, just as Carol Britton Chambers did. This is about the 1868 earthquake in Hawaii. which devastated the land. It starts with a really cool instrument called an ocean drum. And if you're really quiet, you can hear the ocean. Followed by a rain stick, and then the vibraphone. And it's to represent Mother Earth in all her glory, in all the green that she provides. And then comes the earthquake, and devastation happens. But always after devastation, new life does grow, and we come back to Mother Earth at the end, and then have an exciting finish. We hope you enjoy this. just want to thank all of you again, like Mr. Heffentreger did, for supporting our program, getting your kids to rehearsal, supervising them practice, or at least trying to make sure they're practicing regularly. We really appreciate all of it. It's what makes our department strong, and we love to see it keep growing. Our next piece is Byzantine Dances, and ours is by Carol Britton Chambers. This is now the fourth piece of the night you've heard by one of our favorite composers. This one was written as an homage to Turkish dances. So it begins and ends with typical Roma gypsy music, and in the middle has a Zybeck dance, which is usually done by a solo dancer to show strength and courage, and they have their arms way out like a hawk. So enjoy this dance, it's fun.
Okay, can I have one more round of applause for all three of our bands this evening? especially the students. One big round of applause for Mr. Heffentrager, Ms. Olson, for all the time they put in for you guys this year. All right, so here are the logistics to get you out of here. One, if you look at your program, you'll see when the last rehearsals are, so that'll make you very happy for the last couple times this year. You have to get your kids up and out the door. Concert band students are going to go back to the cafeteria, pack up, then we'll come back and meet the parents here. The other bands will go down, get their stuff in the band room, and they will meet you back here. So concert, symphonic and wind symphony parents stay here, they'll come back and meet you, then you can be on your way. Jazz band and ensemble students will make their way to the auditorium if you are the parent of a jazz ensemble or band student. After we get the kids out of here, please make your way to the auditorium to go enjoy that concert. Parents of other students, if you would like to stay and go after you collect your child, you may. There are seats available in the auditorium, but after we get all the jazz band and jazz ensemble people there, everyone knows their job? Excellent. Thank you for your participation tonight. Let's get the kids moving first, please.